Hey, this is Travis Gafford, the double lift expert, and you're watching Thorin's YouTube channel.
This is going to be episode 18 of Elitists United, and it's the lost show because it's the one I predict no one watches because there's no real reason for this show to exist because it's too long after Rift Rivals for anyone to actually care. Did anyone care in the first place? Don't really know. Still haven't figured that out. Everyone says they don't, but at the same time, you do in a way because you want to style on people. You don't want to get beaten by an A, so someone must care. But we're also going to dive back into the LEC soon, since that obviously starts up again. And what we need to know is this. Kold, when people say they don't care about Rift Rivals, right? What do they actually mean by that from your perspective? Because they can't mean they don't care entirely. Like I said, like no one wants to get humiliated and get wrecked by the other team, right? So what, like, where does it fit for you as a tournament? What do you think about it?
I mean, there's pride on the line. At least I believe so. I mean, it comes down to the fact that there's no winning in it. Like it's a tournament for entertainment, right? So
sure.
Obviously, entertainment can often turn into one team looking very good and another team looking rather bad. So if both teams are not like trying their best, so I'm not like I feel like Rift Rivals can. It's pretty much up to the individual team how they want to perceive it, because some teams take it as a way where you can try a lot of different things that you haven't tried in matches that really matter, and then other teams take it like full try hard. They just want to play their best, see how they stack up against the other teams, and yeah, and then that's basically Rift Rivals. And I think was it 2 years ago, 1 year ago, where the EU teams were getting destroyed by NA, and this time it was the other way around. So yeah, sure. I don't know. I don't take too much away from it, honestly. It was more like a little small vacation for the EU teams, and we had a lot of fun playing the game. So yeah, that's how I see it.
Fair enough. If anyone remembers, the original tournament that they seemingly took the inspiration for Rift Rivals from was that tournament called the Battle of the Atlantic that they did at the end of Season 3, which, if anyone doesn't realise, piece of trivia, thanks to Nukeduck and Bjergsen poaching, actually EU managed to lose, even though basically we sent all the best teams. We were wrecking the Americans, but that terrible Lemon Dogs lineup that was like non-LCS level players had to play and do that. But whatever, it's all right. The bad guys got caught in the end. That Bjergsen guy got fined. Nukeduck had to go to Challenger Hell for about 1 year. Then he literally got banned by Riot. Jesus had to come down into hell, save his soul, bring him back many years later. Didn't win with Jankos. Skip forwards. But did win Rift Rivals. So Nukeduck, does Rift Rivals matter?
Yeah, sure. It was. We wanted to win, so I mean, at first we wanted to win. Then we saw G2 were trolling, and then we were like, okay, maybe we'll like troll
Sure.
a bit too, you know. But then when we actually lost, we were like, that's not as fun as winning. So yeah, we decided to try hard in the end.
Like, did you guys have any games at this tournament where you ran something you wouldn't run in a proper like LEC week if you thought it was good or bad or experimental?
Yeah, definitely.
What would
We
you
would
describe that as
basically
then?
the game against Team Liquid. We would never run that if we were tryharding. Basically, it was not something we really played in scrims or anything like that. It was just like, what do you guys want to play? Because like we're winning anyway, and people are having fun, so we might as well, you know.
I think the level of the tournament kind of got to our head a little bit in that game, because it felt like at least there was this like aura around the EU teams that you could literally pick any champion and win.
Right.
And that's where it all goes wrong. Like you actually can't do that. So I think in hindsight, we actually talked about afterwards as well that we would have liked to play a full try-hard game against TL. Just to see how we would stack up against them, because the game we played against them was that in a game that would matter to us, that would never have been the case. It was more like, as Erland said, it's like a game where we just try some stuff.
Veteran, what do you think of that comp where they had the Kai'Sa mid, Pantheon, Talia bot lane?
The surprising thing for me about that answer is I expected that game, but I also expected them to say the Patrick mid game they wouldn't actually normally run in EULCS. Do you actually see a benefit of putting Patrick mid and swapping with Nukeduck, or?
Well, yeah, that was not really troll. We were tryharding that game. Yeah, we could have done this. We could have done this in a standard game also. In a game we were trying to win.
Is it
Also,
actually?
I feel like
let's put it in the right way. It's not that we are not trying to win. We are trying our hardest to win with what we have.
Sure.
We were just putting ourselves a little bit on the back foot in the draft phase. Let's put it like that. That sounds more right in my ears.
I figured though that like when it comes
we were trying in the game, yeah, but we would never run it normally. Yeah. But we would run what we ran against TSM in a tryhard game, yeah.
Okay, well, I feel like the problem with Rift Rivals is that not only is there no real incentive to like try hard it, but
can
I
you
feel
guys
like
hear me right
there's a lot
now?
of incentive.
Yeah. Wait
Okay.
a sec.
Yeah, I can hear.
Are you back?
Yeah, I'm back.
Oh, there we go. I think the screen just went off, right? It's because of I think it's if you don't move the mouse for like 10 minutes or something, it turns off even though the call's on.
Okay. Yeah,
that might have been it. But yeah. Well, we can hear you anyway. Keep going, Veteran.
Okay. The problem with Rift Rivals is that not only are you...
Okay, now I can. Okay,
there we go. Right, he's back. There we go.
You can hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like the problem with Rift Rivals is that you're not only not incentivized to like take it super seriously, or basically there's no real incentive to win the whole thing outside of like prize money and stuff, because there's no like world result out of it, but you're somewhat incentivized to not show much, because the other 7 teams that haven't gone to Rift Rivals can just use this time to scout you if you're pulling out anything new or anything that you might have been saving for the results that actually matter, which is still the regular split. People still want to get their buys, so I feel like you're somewhat incentivized to actually put yourself on the back foot in draft, so to speak, and run things that you wouldn't actually be considering taking out in the next few weeks. You're not going to bring out your like super secret strategy versus TSM or something for a tournament that doesn't matter if you're playing like G2 the next week, like you're kind of incentivized to do these troll comps.
Well, yeah, pretty much.
Also, the tournament is just placed in such a weird time of this season, to be honest. Like that's what I don't understand. Like I would have loved to have a tournament like this for maybe it could be just before MSI, just after MSI, with maybe not the number 1 team, but 2 to 4 or
a few people have had that.
There
idea.
are so many,
good.
or it can be like in the off season, or there are so many possibilities. But in a when you put in a tournament with no real there's no real value to the teams rather than the practice of it in this part of the season, then no team that will actually try to fight for a world spot or top standing in the league will take the tournament as like the most serious tournament in the entire season, so it's a little weird, but it is what it is.
I mean, I think the reason why they wouldn't do it in the off-season anymore is because they want to avoid another Lemon Dogs Nukeduck situation where people are putting in placeholders, because obviously the off-season is where teams are switching up their rosters, and the teams that you saw a couple of weeks before the World Championships have been and gone. Like they probably don't exist at this point, and then they just stuff in whatever random players would sign a contract for like 500 a month that they could put into the tournament. Like they want to avoid that situation. But if you did like the 2-3 thing, which I think is the best idea if you had to have the tournament, if you did like the 2-3 thing before MSI, then why not at that point just take the top 3 to MSI and just make a bigger tournament out of it? Like, what's the incentive there? So I think they're stuck between a rock and a hard place here. I get kind of why they want to do the Rift Rivals thing, but there's no real competitive justification for it that they can find, to be honest. So,
sure. Well, what about the kold when we were talking about the running other stuff? Like, is it just the perception that G2 does all this stuff and they're really great because they have all these super team of players? Is your team trying to be more experimental yourselves?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that G2 has shown that we in Season 9 are at a state where it's not just like playing by the book all the time, it's trying new stuff. Sometimes if you play something that is so edgy that you only you will actually understand what it takes to win with it, and the other team just doesn't understand it, there's actually a high possibility that you end up winning. And it might sound weird, but or at least I think that you can take it to some level. But I mean, some of the things that G2 were playing at Rift Rivals was just like straight up trolling, you know. But
Was that a little bit too far over the edge?
yeah, but there were still some ideas behind it that made some sense. So it's kind of weird, you know. Like we run into stuff all the time nowadays that someone from the team comes in with an idea of like, oh, this could be good, or this could be good, because there's this incentive to be innovative all the time now, because G2 is bringing new stuff all the time. So you need to like find the balance between it and actually have concrete thought process behind why X is good, you know, instead of just like, oh yeah, I think this could be good, but actually didn't think about why it would be good. So yeah, there's a balance that you have to work with, but it's super, and it's actually the most fun phase of League of Legends that I've been part of, because even as a guy like me that who has played forever, I guess it's for Erland, it's the time where you are trying the most to always come up with new stuff, like what could be good, new special plans in game that can throw the enemies off guard instead of just playing like a normal kind of game of League of Legends. So I think it's a cool transition that the game has taken.
Sure. What did you think of this comp that G2 played against TSM, the one where they had Lucian mid, Pyke jungle, Soy bot lane, and they won the game with it? What did you think of that?
Well, that's the kind of draft where there are pieces that makes a lot of sense, and then they throw in the Pyke jungle, and that was all for entertainment, obviously.
Yeah, of course, to try and get every role to play it. Yeah,
exactly. People to play Pyke. So yeah, I mean, yeah, it was fun to fun to watch, I guess. I think that's the best way to describe it.
Okay. What do you think on the argument that I've seen some people, when I did that video about perks, saying that they think now in this meta we shouldn't call it the role AD carry anymore, it should just be called bot lane, and as a result, you know, the idea is the paradigm shift would hopefully make players not think they're going to play that role and play only 3 ADC champions or whatever the meta is at that point. Do you think that's like a reasonable update? Will it not matter in a while? Will we go back to what it used to be like? What do you think?
I think that's being a reasonable way to look at it ever since they made the AD carry changes all that time ago, when they changed all the mana values and bases on the AD carries like ages ago, and you started seeing like Vladimir bot in the meta and all this stuff. I think then kind of AD carries had to have the mentality that they were playing bot lane and not just playing AD carry, because then you avoid stuff like Rekkles having to sub himself out for Bwipo because he just isn't keeping up, because he's stuck in the mentality that he's essentially playing a role that doesn't exist anymore. And this is also why I was a bit surprised about the Patrick mid thing, because Patrick actually can play like a lot of things that aren't AD carries in the bot lane. So I was confused about why you would necessarily need him to go mid. Obviously, like Nukeduck's going to consider his Yasuo to be like better than anyone on his team probably, but Patrick can play that role.
That's already a territory that you don't want to go into.
Oh, really?
Is there a bunch of one-on-ones going on at Baron with this team? What's going on here?
Yeah, we do play Yasuo only once for warm up, me and Patrick, but it's not like we are trying, like we are not fighting about who's the best Yasuo on the team.
Okay. Well, either way, I feel like Patrick, one of the reasons why I kind of value him a bit over Upset is that I feel like Patrick's a bit more malleable in that sense than Upset is, in terms of like adapting to all of these kinds of champions. And a large amount of that is that he puts in like Nukeduck level games, or at least did when I was working with him, puts in like Nukeduck level games to learn all of these champions. So I was a bit surprised about that, but I feel like if Rekkles doesn't, and he is trying to play like Sona and stuff like that now, and he played Karma, for example. Like if Rekkles didn't start learning all this, then he would just start falling behind, you know? You saw Kobe like trying his best to like learn all of them, and that was like a good sign to keep him above. But yeah, obviously if you come in now only being able to play like range DPS AD champions, then you're not really going to be able to play bot lane well against all the players that are able to play all of this other stuff. And obviously you won't be able to flex everything like G2 can. Like, and that's, as Kold says, is like turning into the name of the game.
Okay. Nukeduck, what did you think of Team Liquid at this tournament? Obviously, they were try hard and like a motherfucker. Like that was pretty obvious. But did you get a good sense of what they're like as a team?
Yeah. They play kind of good. They play very they play like the NA play style, like very like to the best of all of the NA teams. But I don't think they're as good as they were after. I think they are not on EU level, to be honest.
In what sense?
I think they are just a little bit worse. I think they don't play like they play well, but they are good, but I think they are still a bit behind the EU teams. Yeah.
What do you think, Kold?
Team Liquid. I mean, they show like signs of great things. I think the game they played against G2 in the finals, in the final day of the Rift Rivals, was pretty good. They also, it's so hard to judge like teams on so, at least for us, like so few games played against them. But I think, as Erland says, I think they're like close to the top teams in Europe, but just slightly below. I think if we would play against them in best 5, I think we would beat them. But I think they are like a very experienced team, and they play this style well around like strong AD, like this perception of maybe like season 5, season 6 league, where they have like a strong AD, supportive guys that support the AD, make him strong. Then they play strong in like a 4-man, 5-man, and then group a lot. But I think the game is like too dynamic. I haven't seen them play like the game is played more in season 9. So I'm not too sure on them. They have like clear strengths, but they also have weaknesses that you're able to abuse in games, I think.
Sure. Like Veteran, people always say this. It's like that famous saying that like everything before the word "but" in a sentence is supposed to be ignored by the person saying it, and everything after it is supposed to be ignored by the person listening to it. Like something like some witty quote to say it like that. So people always, no matter what the results Team Liquid have, they just explain how they play the game wrong, basically, and they're not like the right style, and they're outdated. And so how do they keep getting these results? They can't be that bad.
Results where?
Everywhere, mate. Let me know when you beat IG in a best of 5. You can come back on the show and start telling me about it.
True. True.
Just saying, that's not bad. It's a pretty good start, right?
That's a very valid point.
Sure. I mean, I agree, by the way, when I watch them. Like, a lot of times I think they're going to lose the game, but somehow they win a whole bunch of them, so... Come on,
like versus, like when you say that, for example, Thorin, like I immediately think of like the games versus Fengvu, and where they were like making the worst decisions around the map possible, but Fengvu just physically couldn't hit skill shots, so Fengvu ended up losing anyway. And I think.
I don't know why anyone from EU is talking about Fengvu Buffalo. I'd delete that from your brains, boys. Like they literally, if they were playing a best of 2 against our champions, they 2-0'd and then they're the champions. So you pass the MSI championship to them, they win.
It's actually a really big point though, because I bear in mind I've only basically watched Team Liquid at international tournaments. So I don't really degrade myself into watching North America much. But I feel like they have a very strong idea of how they want to play out a certain composition, in the sense of like, okay, we have like Lucian Galio bot. So even though we have like Jace top, we're going to play like really hard for bot. And if we actually win out on bot, this is where we'll transfer our bot lane to. This is how the game kind of should be at that point. But if anything else happens in game that isn't that specific game plan, they're like completely lost and they have to stall out. And the Fengvu games are like a big part of this, where Fengvu did like a really bad lane swap against them, and Jace was really far ahead, but their bot lane was like monster inting that game. And they literally did every possible wrong move in relation to the Jace and in relation to every part of the map where they could potentially have tempo, just because they were still thinking we need to get our bot ahead and then move our bot around the map like X. And you saw that a lot. Like versus G2, for example, G2 threw like the biggest curveballs possible at them. Imagine you're playing against like Spear of Shojin, Siobhan and shit like this, and they had to default to just like straight scaling again. You know, I think if you just throw these kinds of curveballs at Team Liquid, they don't know what to do. If Team Liquid get an advantage in the lane that they aren't expecting to get an advantage on, I don't think they know what to do either. I don't know if like they're formulating these plans like pre-champ select and stuff, and they don't actually understand how the game kind of works at like a fundamental level, so they can't think on the fly. But they can't think on the fly for some reason. So if I was to say Team Liquid is good, it would be Team Liquid is good, but if the game doesn't go how they think it should go, they're really fucking clueless, and I think that's what's going to be keeping them behind.
Right, here's the one thing I need from you additionally to that, Veteran. I know how these things work. Okay. So you now need to finish that with a statement that goes something like this. If Team Liquid was in the LEC, they would finish in blank, insert position. And then whatever answer you say there, you get flamed. So go ahead, decide which number we would put into that blank.
I think I'd say 5th.
Yikes! So they're below. I'm assuming you're putting them below Splyce, basically.
Yeah, I'm putting them below Splyce. I think I'd put them 5th. I think Splyce can beat them, and then if it's like a coin flip in my head, then the side that has the more European players wins the flip. So Splyce wins the flip, and they end up 5th.
There we go. Veterans Law invoted at last. So that Reddit will enjoy that, I've no doubt. So here's a question for you, Kold. So actually something I want to know, because on every LCS show, one topic of discussion quite often is that TSM obviously has 2 junglers, and they still haven't decided actually which one's going to be the permanent starting jungler. Like, is it Acadian, the guy from the spring, or is it Greg, the guy they had before who was injured or whatever? You got to play against both of them. So do you have any thoughts on them? Are they different, what they were good at, etc.?
Oh yeah, actually I did. That's it's funny because whenever we played them, we also got to scrim against them. I couldn't tell like a difference. It was basically like playing against the same player in most of the times. And then I realized in almost every aspect it was very much the same. But whenever we played against Greg, he was like a little bit more just like pathing and more pathing. But yeah, I don't know. Like I felt like the tournament was a very like eye-opening tournament for both of them, of like how the EU junglers were playing. So I think like whoever of them who can take the most out of the week of Rift Rivals will probably get the spot. I don't know like how they choose, if they continue with both or if they choose one at some point, or like how that goes. But I mean, for me, the jungle role will always be a role where I feel like it's so hard to judge the individual, because you can be a good player, but if you don't work well with your teammates, you will either play very selfish and look good, or you play very much for how team is supposed to play, and if your teammates are not playing well around that, then you will look terrible. So
sure.
It's very hard for me to judge, but like overall, I was not like super pressured playing against them. I felt like they gave a lot of freedom to the other team to dictate a game. Like a comparison, if I play against some of the European teams, even some of the teams that were not at Rift Rivals, I feel more. I feel like the junglers I play against in EU are more in a position where they will force your hand at some point. They will try to do something, and you either are predicting what they're doing, or you are making sure that your team is playing around what they're doing, because they will do something. I feel like some of the two teams junglers, they were more entitled to just like play by the book all the time, and just like clear camps, put vision, clear camps, but nothing explosive at all. It was just like very slow play. Yeah, that was how I saw it.
Okay. Do you have any thoughts, Veteran?
Oh God. Okay, so I was going to talk about any junglers in general.
Yeah, let's do it.
And then talk about Xmithie, but like when it comes to the TSM junglers, I don't disagree with anything Kold has said. I have to say, like, was it against you maybe where Acadian played Skarner, or was that again? I can't remember if it was against you guys or not, but there was like one.
No, he
he played
strong.
Trundle against Origen in the first game.
There was a Skarner game. Wait, it was an NALCS Skarner game where I was like reviewing some of the NA teams before Rift Rivals, and Arcadian like failed to do like his full blue side clear and red without dying, so he had to weaken without doing red on stuff. Yeah, I literally just like turned it off at that point. Like, this is not fucking worth it. Like, I was live streaming as well. I was like, it's just not worth my time, guys. By the way, I'll come back and review Origin after. So I have like good opinions on the TSM junglers. I'm just not going to disagree with anything Kold said, because they didn't seem like that worth at this tournament. Xmithie, on the other hand, seems like he learned a little bit from his experiences versus Jankos and versus Clid at MSI. Like, he's a lot less straight passive than he was before. He's still obviously not as like aggressive as his EU equivalents, but he's much more aggressive in terms of making sure that, for example, mid is in a good spot before he does his recall. He's much more aggressive about playing specifically to his win condition in his earlier clears, whereas previously he was basically always looking to first clear no matter what the champions were. So I think Xmithie has grown a bit, but like overall I agree with Kold. Like, I don't see anything out of these junglers, and I can't even see these junglers clearing their camps properly sometimes. So like, I'm not really gonna bother checking to like expand my opinion in this regard, because after this episode I don't have to talk about them again until Worlds. Hopefully then I can just talk about Chinese junglers or something.
Quite the challenge. Great man, you've only seen one so far, but who knows? Maybe we'll expand it out. You might see a couple. Right, I've got a question, Nukeduck. Since you got to play against Bjergsen a couple of times in this tournament, and you've obviously seen Caps come from nothing to be really good now, how would you compare the two? Is Bjergsen on Caps level?
No, it's not. But all of I think individually no, but at the same time it's hard to like really say how well they play in NA, because like they don't like how to play really well. You have to play really well around your team as well, and their team play or their team strategy is maybe not as good always. So I think that makes them look a bit worse. So Bjergsen plays pretty like passively, or like not passively, but he plays like he doesn't try to win lane that much. He just tries to roam or like make sure his lane is safe from the enemy jungler. So just be like a resource, trying to help his team out as much as he can. Yeah, and not require some help from the team, but at the same time he also then doesn't he doesn't pressure lane that hard. Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts, Veteran?
I'm wondering which of the traitors actually did look good to you. Like, do you think Jensen's better than Bjergsen, for example? Every time I've seen them at international events, I thought Jensen was doing better. I think so. Yeah, Jensen was. I mean, on lane. Yeah, Jensen was like doing better, I think. Yeah, but it's very small difference, I think. So yeah, I didn't actually have the chance to play against Nisqy because we didn't scrim them, and also he was like playing bottom lane that actually played against them.
Sure.
So, but I think all three are good players, like Nisqy and Bjergsen and Jensen. So yeah, I don't know if there's that big difference, but I think maybe people don't think so, but I think Nisqy is like just as good as them as well.
Okay, bold statement.
I thought that Nisqy was like a little bit overrated when he was in Europe, because I thought he was very overrated because a lot of people were labeling him as like one of the best mid laners in Europe, and I just thought that was completely inaccurate. This guy didn't really have that big of a champion pool, and when he did eventually play in NA, he got Syndra like all 4 of the games that he played initially, and everyone thought he was a god. I'm kind of surprised that you think that they're on the level of Bjergsen or Jensen. That just kind of indicates to me that Bjergsen's gotten worse over time or something.
As I said, I didn't play against him, but I just watch NALCS, and Nisqy always plays well. So yeah, that's what I think. Yeah, I don't think there is a huge difference anyway.
It's become political over the years, right? Okay, well, nice guy of the year award.
No, but I'm being serious.
Okay. What about when he was in Europe? Did you think he was as good a player when he was playing in, not LEC, because it was the ULCS, but when he used to play back against you guys, was he as good?
Yeah, he was good. Yeah, I mean, I think it was the same. Yeah, though I only watched him and I played against him back then. I mean, he has like better results playing in NA. Like he's, of course, like he looks better. Like he looks like a player that just like always performs like better than average, like every game. So I think he faced a bit worse competition, but I think he was also pretty good in Europe. Yeah.
Okay. What we never
he was always like he was always like rated more highly between players. I felt like rather than like
right.
analysts. I remember actually in the off season when there was like discussions around like, well, off season's always a little weird because suddenly every player is going to every team. But I was actually playing some duo queue with him in the off season, and he's like a guy that is very he's like very vocal about how he plays the game and what he's doing in the game. I feel like you also get to see that if you see some of the C9 content around their games. But he's also like he seems like a good guy to have on a team, like moral wise. He's always like a positive mood kind of player. So I think he's probably like underrated by the public in that way.
Sure.
So those on teams, it's some things that can really change the atmosphere in a team environment that can be crucial because not everyone is going to be like that.
Right, turns out actually Nisqy gets the Nice Guy Award, right? We've solved that one. There we go.
Exactly.
He's got a really great personality, veteran.
At least you don't get it, Thorin.
I know, I never will.
Yeah.
I never will, mate. I only like people who are really good. So, you guys can stick to all your manners and offering someone the fucking door. Like, can I open this for you, sir? Like, I just stick with the people who are fucking world champions and that, Whatever, Anyway.
Wait, but you also really like the Danish CSGO player, so you must like me as well, right?
Actually, I do in a little way, in as much as like Veteran always hypes the idea that you're a good like team jungler in communication, which is actually, to be fair, what Danish Counter-Strike's all about, and I do appreciate that angle to the game. Working together to be better, not just individually doing it. Again, as I said, top. I mean, it wasn't on the episode, but top 10 Lee Sin player in Denmark for my money. I give you that credit right now.
I think that's accurate.
Yeah, I mean, some people would say, you're just not in the right team to play Lee Sin. I would say you just need a time machine. So anyway, it's just by the by, we'll put that to one side. I've got a question for you, though, because since Veteran already talked about him, I didn't ask you specifically. What are your thoughts on Xmithie? Because he's another player, kind of like Team Liquid as a team, that never seems to get rated that highly outside of NA, but again, seems to always have pretty decent results. So what do you think of him as a jungler?
He's definitely the best jungler that was there from NA that I played against. He would punish you if you did mistakes, and so that he has that one going for him. But I think he is like so experienced and has played so much internationally, so he has kind of seen it all. I remember the first times that I went to Worlds where I played against some of the Chinese junglers, and I was just like mind blown. Like, what? How can they do that? They're suddenly level 2 there in my jungle, were killing me. Like, what happens? So, I feel like the experience advantage he has over the especially like the TSM junglers. I think Søren Skjern has the same.
Yes,
but it's very easy to recognize when you play against them. So I think he's good. Like, he also, I feel like at MSI he was also playing well. So I think he's solid. He's not a superstar, but he's very solid.
Is the style of, since you said he was the best of the NA junglers, is the style of NA jungling part of why their teams as an overall strength and style aren't as good at the moment? Like, they don't really play, like, as you say, like the super aggressive style that you see the Chinese do, for example?
I think it's not necessarily just the jungler's fault. I think it's the mindset of the players, honestly. Like, I think Erland probably, or I don't know if I should keep calling him Erland, but Nukeduck.
Is that what you normally call him privately, just by his proper
Yeah,
name?
exactly. But I think he just hits the spot right away. You know, like if you talk about one of the superstars of the region in Bjergsen, and the way you describe his gameplay is to be self-sustainable, play to not win the lane, but just play to make sure that he's not falling behind, he's not pushing himself, he's and you know, that's not just to flame him or like to say like he's doing it poorly. Maybe it's like a team decision, you know, maybe he's not utilizing his support and jungler to utilize them so he can play aggressive at the right times. Maybe he's not like there can be many reasons why, but it's just the fact that that's the way they're playing. But so I think that it's just a mindset issue, and when like I have been on teams before where that was the mindset. I think I myself also had that mindset at times, but I feel like nowadays if you are not taking chances in the game, you will just automatically lose, or you win because the enemy team is bad. If that makes any sense, because whenever you're gonna go international and play against the best teams in the world, you will always see them they will put themselves in positions where it's on them to win the game. And I think if you are not willing to take those chances, then you will never become like a team that can compete against the best. So I feel like it's mostly just a mindset issue, and if it comes from the junglers, then that is the junglers' fault. I mean, everyone fucking love flame the jungler. Of course,
yes, exactly.
Better jungler always wins. I know all of it, but
is that what your own team's telling you?
I mean,
claiming you after the final.
Xmithie is the prime example of a better jungler always wins.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
Wins.
Yeah.
So I'm trying. You know, like the games we lose, obviously the enemy had the better jungler. So what can we do? But yeah, I think it's mostly just the mindset of the teams. And
it's weird how when the team wins, though, everyone in the team did their job really well, and everyone should get credit, right, Kold? That's how it normally works, right?
That is the true team spirit.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
And that's what I like.
Yeah, exactly.
We lose and win as a team.
We either win together or we lose because it was the jungler. That's like on the door as you walk into the offices, just to make sure everyone knows going in.
I mean, that's what you said. I think you would probably be good friends with Mr. Xmithie. He shares that kind of opinion with you.
Yeah, exactly. See, it's right up my alley. Right, come on, Veteran. There's a lot in there you could talk about.
Yeah, while he was saying all that, I was like thinking about the kind of things that NA has brought to the table, and every time NA's brought something to the table, it's always been a way that they could be a bit less interactive and like guarantee to hit a point in the game where they just kind of automatically win if anything happens, you know? Like this is the region that brought us the Ardent meta. It's not the region that brought us Sonotaric, but when Sonotaric came out, these are the guys that really latched onto it. Like Europe's already kind of gone a bit beyond that, and obviously like there's a whole meme about how much we hate Sonotaric now, but like they are still well on board of it. Like they seem to really come at the game from a point of, if we just pull this comp off, we can't lose. And as a result, when opportunities occur that G2 would just like latch onto like that, they won't latch onto it and go really aggressive for the misstep that the opponent just made, because they don't need to, because they're going to win anyway if they just hold a certain map state. And that's why you see picks like Gangplank still coming out from them, for example. And there's always been like this is kind of true in Europe as well, but it's really endemic over there, of like the idea that Korean style, which is interchangeable with best style, is also interchangeable with like just having a passive style, as if SKT is the only thing Korea ever produced and KT Monster never existed, you know?
Sure.
Like they've always kind of approached the game from that sort of avenue. As a result, I feel like if you're like an EU mid laner who goes over there, you stop looking for all of these opportunities where you can like get the solo kill, where you can get like a 3v3 skirmish, but they're like grouping just a little bit improperly, and you guys can, if you're decisive enough, like come out on top in it for sure. You know, like I feel like over there you kind of unlearn these like killer instinct tendencies, and I think that's being endemic dynamic for them for like a long ass time. That's why it's kind of impressive that Xmithie in the early game has kind of like progressed and realized that like the enemy team is going to be aggressive enough on all of these missteps, and he might actually have to try to play for all of his lanes and not just try to be like an AFK jungler. And junglers like Clid and Yanko's probably like really hammered that home to him. I'd say Ning as well, but Ning was like a little bit more coin flip at that tournament. The rest of the junglers haven't really so much. And looking to Origen and stuff, there's absolutely a mentality of like, well, we could go for this play and maybe it's like 60-40 that we'd win it, but we don't need this play because we're going to win if we just hit 25 minutes anyway, you know, like stuff like this. Like that is an actual mentality that's very endemic over there, and you don't find that in Europe anymore, because if you do the vaguest misstep against a team like G2, for example, as Coldwell knows, suddenly Perks is teleporting behind you at level 3 and you're dead, you know. Like we have a much more kind of kill instinct approach to the game in that regard. And obviously that's going to be the way that ends up winning, because then you take advantage of every single opportunity in the game, whereas NA is just kind of relying on that you don't take every advantage possible in the game.
On that note, let's end our discussion of Rift Rivals and move to LEC, aka the best region. So another team that was recently playing internationally, you're all thinking, who is he going for now? He's already done Rift Rivals. It was obviously Vitality, right? They went over to show RNG how League of Legends is played, get Uzi up to speed, you know, and having a really sick bot lane. They came back, they've done all that in like less than a week, mate. It was sick. They came back, they were like, right, now we're going to show everyone in Europe how League of Legends is going to be played as well. And it didn't go that well initially, but somehow they won a couple of games. And so I would ask you this, Kold. Everyone else who's come on the show, at very minimum, low-key sort of flames Mowgli in this team and doesn't think that he has like a very good style. What do you think of him as a jungler? Are you going to join in? Is he not that good? Or is there some secret reason why he's all right?
I mean, he's actually like super fun to play against, because you know that at least in the first like 4 minutes you will meet him. You know, eventually you will meet him, and he will like try to hit you a little bit and fight you a little bit, and then you will see. Maybe if he takes over the game, they will win, and if they don't, then they will probably lose.
So you got a little timer, you're just waiting, right? When am I going to meet him? Which bush is he going to come out of now?
I remember we played against him. We have played against them this split in the first week, I believe, where we beat them. Where we were basically like playing like 3 losing lanes, losing jungle matchup, and I was like, so is he coming level 1 or is he coming level 2? And then he was coming level 2, and he ended up. I think he ended up like losing his flash in my like we were blue side, and he was in my Crocs at level 2, and he lost his flash, and then he ended up like giving up first blood at 4 minutes, recalling in my jungle as well. And,
I hate to see it.
I feel like he's like trying too hard to win the game by himself, kind of. There's like this fine balance between like getting an advantage and keep pushing it, where sometimes you're actually better off just like going to take your own jungle camps and then clearing them and then repeat, and then like actually playing calculated instead of just like I see I'm so ahead of the enemy jungler, I need to just run at him, kill him, and fight him all the time. So I don't know. I mean, he at least has like the mindset of a guy that wants to put himself in like a winning position, but more often than not, it kind of fails. So it's kind of hard to judge. But I think it's their style is like, it's so telegraphed often. Like if everything goes poorly, then you know that in the next minute he will be top trying to dive the enemy top laner, and that also often end up failing. But yeah, so it's really hard. Like he has some good ideas about some of the things he does, but he's like thinking he can do more than he actually can in some scenarios. But I don't know exactly like how they're doing in the last couple of games. I don't remember, since it's so long time ago we played LEC.
Fair enough.
But yeah, those are some of my thoughts on him. Yeah.
Too predictable veteran?
I mean, Cole said like the exact same thing that basically every jungler said, even if he was a bit more verbose about it. Like everyone kind of knows how Mowgli is at this point. Like he'll just try to sit on your face while his laners win their lanes that then start losing at like level 4 or 5 because that's the weird way that they're drafting. They like the wins that they got recently haven't been very convincing to me at all. Like they almost threw that game against Excel, for example, when Excel just brought back their bot lane and they played like Sona Taric bot. And then Mickey like burned Flash mid like insta, and then Cajal was like really fucked because he had like 2 losing lanes and he was playing fucking Olaf, and then Mowgli just immediately tried to like dive and all this shit. Like it's very telegraphed how they play, but even with that, you will have stuff like Jack Troll will just Tom Kenchult to give Excel as much of a chance as possible to get back in the game. You know, like this team still has huge issues once they get out of that early game phase, and their early game phase is still like a strategic issue for them. So there's not too much to say about Vitality other than saying like super specifics like that hasn't really already been said. I'm not really surprised by anything that like Kold is saying. Like, it's all stuff that is known now. I don't know why they refuse to adapt. Like surely at some point you look at your results and be like, you know what, maybe everyone is right when they were saying for years that we're just going to get figured out and then we're going to be like,
no, don't do that. No, what you do is you just play your style. And then you don't, you believe in each other and you all hold hands and you pray to, I don't know, whatever it is, what deity that is that week. Jesus one week, I don't know, Buddha the next week. And if you just play your style and believe in each other and give each other really sick movie locker room speeches before, then I think you win, as far as I can tell. But then somehow still don't get out of groups and don't actually do anything else in the tournament, but are somehow a hero. I don't know how it works. Like it's like one of those complicated like equations just flying by my head while I'm trying to figure that out. But I think that's what Reddit told me. So basically,
I mean, you sound like the typical analyst now. Like at least you have a style. Like at least you have a style. They're also always searching, in how they want to build up the teams, like what style are they playing?
Yeah, of course.
They have a style, so they have that going for them.
I mean, that's, you know what that is? I'll tell you actually, if you come from the world of analysis, if you're talking about a team that isn't the best team and you just keep stressing that they have a style, that actually usually means you think some of the players in the team are good and that whoever holds them back, it's like, that's the style. It's like if you have an estate agent, right? If the place is like, it could be good, but it's like all run down and, it's not like refurbished enough. They always say it has a lot of character because then the implication is it's on you to bring the character out. Like you have to like put in a really good wallpaper and you have to like fix the sink or something. So usually they have a style. In this case means they just try hard to make Jizuke win the game or something, and it doesn't work.
At least like 3 hours a day.
Exactly. Yeah, they know how to spin it the other way and make it sound good. So Nukeduck, what do you actually think of Jizuke? Because it seems like as the team has fallen off, he's fallen off individually, or vice versa, whichever came first, right?
I mean, it's gonna be at most. He's pretty good, but he likes to play like aggressive a bit too much, maybe. But he's really good at it. But when it doesn't work, usually he can end up like in some bad situations. But at the same time, I don't. Or also he tries to play like really aggressive, and he always wants to have like backup, but he also plays aggressive when he doesn't have backup sometimes, which can be like it's good to do it sometimes to make sure that you're not predictable. But
yes, sure.
But maybe sometimes it's too much, and if his team is not doing well, then he will probably do bad too. But with that being said, I don't think he's like a big problem, because I don't think there is like that big difference between like how well the mids play or like the ones that are like pretty good like him. I think mostly I don't think he's the one like making the team be bad, let's say.
Okay, let's talk about Origen then. So I've got a question for you, Nukeduck. Normally, if you're in like the second team or top 3 team, people will make a case that like a player who's like a big name player is like, oh, he could be the best player at his position, right? Bearing in mind,
Right.
I'm pretty sure like 30% of the games I've ever seen Caps played, he just inted the fuck out of the game. Why does no one ever say the Nukeduck is better than Caps? The only person who ever said it was as a joke, and then he literally made a team around Nukeduck. Like that's how far that guy took being a fan. So why do you never say it? Why do you never just say like, yeah, fuck, that Caps just has a better team than me? I reckon I'm better than him individually. Why not?
I mean, I don't have much basis to say that. I think when I play against him, like the thing is like the way G2 plays is, and they're the best team in the way they play, and Caps is a big part of how they play. So like the way. And that's on top of him being like very good, like on some individual metrics that you would use, but but most likely it should be like how like well you're doing towards winning the game, which is like not a metric you really track that easily. But I think their playstyle would probably like not be good without Caps, and I think Caps is actually like a tad underrated when it comes to like G2's success.
Okay.
Where, for example, I think like against SKT, people were saying stuff that like some people, other people from G2 were like carrying games in that series, but that really didn't happen. Like I think like Caps carried like all the games they won against SKT.
Sure.
So yeah, like when I can do that, then I will maybe I'll talk. But
right, okay, fair enough. Yeah.
So, but like it's not like but I think like just exactly on lane, he's not like much better than others. But it's just like he wins the games, and he wins the games for his team. So
okay. See, kold, it's weird how that works, isn't it? It's the better jungle wins, but at the same time, Caps is better than every other mid laner, like apparently the whole world, and we're all supposed to agree with that collectively. So I wonder how the two could fit together in the same universe, but they do somehow. You got to just accept that, mate.
I agree. I mean, what can I say? Like, he probably also has better jungler. At least, like...
All right, there we go. That's his secret. Yeah, you figured it out. You figured out the riddle. We have to spin that the other way. Well, that's why then, Nukeduck. He has a better jungler, mate. What do you expect? He's going to look good, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, me and Erlen has definitely went over a couple of like replays where Erlen was like, "Hey, do you see what Jankos is doing here? To help Caps, you should do the same. You should do the same." So I mean, we have been there a couple of times.
At least he's encouraging you. He's giving you a good morale.
Yeah, I always try to push Jonas to play more aggressive to help me. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, we obviously also get to since we play against them often, we also get to see how they play a lot, like more than just like in competitive games. So they. It's not just like the Cap show; they play really well around him. And the supportive guys that make sure that he's in a spot do their job really well. So, I think they're just like collective smart team.
Well, to be fair, I can actually confirm that Jankos himself learned from Nukeduck that playing aggressively without the mid laner playing with you is just a waste of everyone's time. Just doesn't do anything. You might as well just leave him be.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
There we go. Right. What do you think, Veteran?
I mean, on Nukeduck's point, about what the fuck was I about to say? Oh yeah, so on
him being a bit
point,
underrated in terms of Caps' impact on the team, maybe
specifically on the idea that like Caps carried every single victory
right,
versus
there we go.
SKT. At the same time, in their losses, there were a lot of points in the mid game where Caps was just extended on side lane when everybody on his team was resetting, and he was still showing for some absurd reason. Like there are still times where Caps looks like a bit of the coin flip, like Craps Claps meme that like even in that series that everybody talks about. I put both you and Caps on the same tier. You're actually like the only non-G2 member in S tier when I went back and checked. And I think in terms of laning phase, I'd kind of agree that there isn't like a huge discernible difference between those two. I think Caps is a bit more aggressive at looking for like mid-game skirmishes. I'm not sure how much of that is like due to Jankos playing for him, though. I think a lot of that is like Caps himself trying to create these opportunities and kind of dragging Jankos along for the ride. And then I think I would like trust Nukeduck to be more consistent at stuff like those mid-game stages of the game, for example, because then it's more often going to be like an issue of Origen's map setup as opposed to an issue of Nukeduck's positioning, if that makes sense. So I don't necessarily agree that like it's disingenuous to say that like Caps is coin flip, because he is somewhat especially in those kinds of scenarios, and he will like int the tempo that his team has gotten, which is a huge deal, especially when like there will be so many times where Wonder is like the clear mid to late game objective, and yet they're still playing really hard around Caps' side of the lane, because G2 seem to have this thing where they only really see TP advantage when they have TP advantage, as opposed to what's the potential best like map tempo setup that we could make. And there are obviously arguments that like generally speaking that will be the TP advantage place, but they'll very often do this when the enemy can already be set up on the map, and then they'll just end up like face checking and dying, and then Wonder will just be like farming Krugs because now he can't fucking extend over slightly, and like Caps he won't actually do that, and then they're kind of fucked for a bit. And that happened also in the SKT series that you were talking about. I would kind of like, I can see arguments for people saying that like Nukeduck is better than Caps. Caps obviously does like all the highlight plays and stuff, so he's gonna like permanently win MVP and all this shit.
With the fans,
while Nukeduck is just like, while Nukeduck is just like freezing wave as Malzahar for like 20 minutes straight, and then maybe he pressed and everyone's like, oh wow, hooray. Or like Caps is like blinking all over the fucking map on the Blanc or some shit. So like I think Caps is always gonna have like an advantage publicly as a result. I think I prefer the way that like kold plays around the map and even around mid lane than the way that Jankos does, though. I think the way that kold plays the map is incredibly fucking consistent. And when you guys have like your really good games, there's essentially no fucking counterplay to the way you play early game. And I've characterized it as that you guys essentially smother your opponents. Whereas G2, like the moment you misstep, just beat the living shit out of you. You guys are trying to choke hold them instead of beating the living shit out of them, you know? So I don't know what you think about that, but yeah, that's all I kind of have to say on that topic.
Jungler must be doing something involved with that. So what do you think about that? The Origin style.
Well, he said that I was the better jungler, right? That's how I saw it.
In that one sense, yes. Playing around with, I think it was, right?
I mean, yeah, we play
better jungling style.
I don't think there's like a better style at all. It's more about like how you play as a squad. Like we obviously play not very different, but we play different to G2 in that sense, where we don't like when we get like an advantage, we're not gonna like just throw it down at you like all the time. Like we try to do like more like calculated setups that will gain us like advantage consistently, where G2 sometimes just like end in positions where they fight their way through and then they just outplay the opponent. So yeah, I mean, I think in the past like I was more entitled to just like always follow the consistent play, but nowadays I switch it up more. So I don't think like I always take the right decisions. I'm also like experimenting a lot nowadays. So I think like there are clear games where you will see me taking like gambles where maybe it's not even needed to gamble, but I'll do it anyway to see like how the game flow will end up because of it. Like I think at least like we had a game against Misfits where I kind of screwed up mid lane a bit because I was gambling on a pathing where I was like I was ending in the enemy jungle level 2 and trying to smite steal the enemy red buff against Misfits, where I didn't get it, and then I was behind, and then it ended up like going very downhill until we won the game. But so yeah, like I think like I'm all the time trying to experiment is the best way to see it. So I get more knowledge around all the situations that can happen. But I think like how you presented it is pretty accurate. That it's two different ways, but
yeah,
I don't think like I play way better around like mid lane or lanes or anything like this. I even think like I learned a lot of stuff from watching them how they played around it. So yeah, I mean
I just think like from like from analytical point of view, it's easier to follow my thought process in the game, where sometimes Jankos is more like bloodthirsty for it. Like, I can kill this guy, so I go here to kill him. So I think that's a way you can put it.
Your thought process from an analytical point of view, it's obviously like more coherent, but while you say that it's like kind of more difficult to follow Yanko's thought process, it's also way easier to point holes where G2 is actually vulnerable at certain points in time. And I like to like call this like your jungle systems, because if I just say that it's like just purely the jungler, obviously that's not going to be true. Like, obviously the way that you guys are playing out your early game is the result of like conversations between the five of you. But like the way that G2 do it, for example, the last time that you played against G2, obviously like they did that fucking TP level 3 and stuff, but when you had the gank bot side, that was a pretty big point where G2 were very, very vulnerable. If you guys just didn't like extend through river and just made a fast play out of that, there wasn't really anything G2 could do. So like from my perspective, you guys had the map set up way better than G2 did. But G2, obviously, the moment that you misstep, they know what to do. Like they had like de facto mid priority for some really weird reason, Jarvan like moved down with Syndra and you guys didn't seem to recognize it or whatever. But moments like that are like, sure, the play looks better from G2's point. And yes, I would say that like Jankos and Caps, when they see an opportunity, they're probably way more likely to like grab hold of that opportunity than you guys are, and there's obviously stuff you can learn from that. But from an analytical point of view, the way G2 set up the map at this point was still actually worse than the way you guys set up the map at this point, and it's way easier for you from this point to be like, well, if we do this differently, everything is really perfect for us. Whereas G2 kind of have to break things down to an almost fundamental level if they want to like have as clean an early game as you guys possibly could. Like, I love the games that you have versus Vitality, for example, where Vitality struggle to get like anything early, like literally anything. You've had games where they haven't gotten towers and haven't gotten kills, and that's because they really need the enemy to have like holes in their early game. But you guys don't really have like holes in the way that you play in that sense. Whereas with G2, like, yeah, they do. But G2 are also way more likely, if you just overstep on the ward, to know exactly what to do at that exact moment. And they work really, like, Jankos works really well with his laners in that regard. But I feel like maybe the way that I think of you three guys, as in like G2, Origen, Fnatic, is that G2 play really well like for and with Jankos, so that Jankos could start like skirmishes and lead laners to like skirmishes really fucking easy and really well. Origen play really, really hard for the map, and then to mid to late game with like strong tempo and generally a gold lead. And it's almost impenetrable the way you guys do it. And Fnatic just play really, really, really hard for that like one big win condition that they want to play around mid to late game, whether it's like Whipper or whether it's Reckless. They'll just play like mid to that, you know, and they'll just abandon the other fucking side. And then they'll just play around that harder than you will play around the opposite side where theoretically your win condition is. And then they'll have tempo de facto because they've just played obscenely hard with Broxah like abandoning a lot of camp. And like that's the way that I kind of see you guys. And as a result of this, I think G2 have like less of a clear idea what to do when they transition into mid to late game than you guys. And I think that's why G2's mid game has been like so unique out of the three of you, because they're not approaching this as like a natural extension of their early game, whereas you guys approach like every stage of the game is like a natural extension of the previous one. And Fnatic are like, well, we have like a 6-0 Aatrox, obviously we know what we're gonna fucking do at this point. This is what we always want. Like, I think Team Liquid want to be the kind of team that like Fnatic is, oddly enough, because Team Liquid only really know what to do if the clear win condition from the draft phase actually worked out for them, even though obviously they just look really passive. You can't do what Team Liquid do unless you're as hyper aggressive as Fnatic. So that's my mini one. I don't just say bad teams have styles, by the way.
I mean, that was more of a joke in general about how people describe teams, but whatever. Defensive, some would say guilty conscience, who knows? Right, Kold. Come on, what do you think then? We haven't talked about Fnatic much, so let's start out. Like, what do you think? Because this is a team, if you look, they've only lost something like one game in the last, month and a half or something. They've had a pretty nice run of things. So is Fnatic, where are they at for you?
I mean, they're obviously like really good. They are number one in the league. They beat G2 in one of the from an outside point of view,
best games ever, or as a pro player would look at it, one of the biggest clown games I've seen in a while.
There we go.
But
Yeah.
it was entertaining. So I guess that was good. But I think they look good. I think they're at least compared to spring, they're really they're really trying to like find their style as a team with the new iteration of the roster for 2019. So I think it's clear that like Nemesis is finding his picks that he is feeling very, very comfortable on, and he's playing well on. And I feel like ever since they got 2 junglers, the junglers that they start more often than not, Broxah obviously, plays a little bit different. They're like changing in a way where they don't really care too much about like having good pathing or anything like this. They're more just like going like super ham on pressure all the time. I think like a clear game of that was the G2 game where Broxah was like super far down in CS, but he got kills top, mid, spot, like everywhere, and ended up carrying the game. So they are definitely like changing up a bit of how they played in spring. But I mean, overall, I think you see some of the same stuff that is happening to us, where because we have a team like G2 in the league, they also start to be more innovative. They start to finding, like we see Reckless playing Karma, so Hylissang can be more enabled on stuff like Pike. We see like basically they're trying to enable their strong players to have impact in the games, and when they get or when they're put in those situations, they can like take over games. So I think they are looking like a strong team in the league, and
they've beaten everyone good so far. So why can't are they the best team? Can they be the best team? Do you think?
Can they be the best team? Sure. I think all 3 teams in the league can be the best team if in specific situations. It's all about like, I know like one of our performance coaches, he's always like, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And so like we will see it the playoffs.
There we go. There's one piece of advice for everyone out there. It's simple, but if you apply it, it's true.
I know Erland loves that phrase, so yeah.
Yeah, that's how he's thinking about his career. Like, as long as at the end he wins some stuff, then who gives a fuck about all that shit years ago? You know, stay in the present. Just stay with now.
I know, right?
It's a bit like Eckhart Tolle. Just exist in the now. Earning that sick refresh salary that everyone... See, if you'd have quit like 5 years ago, mate, you'd have missed all the big money. Joke's on you. But you're here now, that's all that matters. So let me ask you this then. What do you think of Nemesis? He's only in his second split now. What do you think of him, the Fnatic mid lane and Nukeduck?
Yeah, I think he's good. I think he has find the playstyle that works in Fnatic, because they play a bit like differently than other teams. Because he's good with many champs. Actually, and he was playing like different stuff when he was like playing in his amateur team, and they were also a good team, because they were. It was self-made man, and there was like the SK roster with just a different support, and they were winning everything. But the hard time I just need to Fnatic, because they play a bit differently. But yeah, he's a very good player. I think he can play also like many champions. Which is like what some people say about him, but it's just he just sticks to what works. I think he's just good. I think he's not. He's like a strong part of the team.
Veteran, any thoughts?
I mean, I'm one of the people that say that he doesn't really play many champions, and you say he sticks to what works, but like it really wasn't working for like a large amount of last split, and then they like figured out the couple of champions that it would work on, So I kind of class that as, you can't really play these champions, you can play these champions, and the champions that he plays and has success on are mostly the ones that either get mid priority, or at least deny enemy hard mid priority, so Fnatic can just abandon one side lane and permagank another one to their heart's content. And I feel like that new AD Twisted Fate is like almost perfect for him as well. And obviously they've been like banding that about a lot. I think that given Jizuki and Fervent's performance this split, though, like he's obviously one of the top EU mids. Like he's probably a top 3 or a top 4 right now. Under obviously like Nukeduck and Caps would be the top 2 in those scenarios. So he's obviously looking like really good, especially given that this is his rookie season, and to already be up there pretty clearly is an insane achievement. I'm still not completely convinced by his champ pool though. Like I wasn't convinced by his champ pool when he was on Mad Lions, and I'm still not convinced by his champ pool now. And I think he's gotten like a little bit lucky that picks like TF have become meta. And the biggest thing for me is that I think you could replace Nemesis on Fnatic with so many other mid laners, and the way that they play would still work, and it would barely change. Because I think they're just going to make every mid laner kind of fit this specific style, and you can really see how much they lost when they lost Caps because of it. So that's like, those are like my thoughts on Nemesis.
I don't think you would.
Come on.
I don't think you could do that, to be honest. I think the way they play is like you would need a guy that is good at sometimes getting resources, but more often than not, like playing very self-sustainable at times.
Yeah.
So I'm not like too sure about that. I think he's.
I mean, like,
he's better. I think he's better than you give him credit for. At least, like, that you could replace him with anyone. Like, I don't think that's the. I don't think.
I think you could replace him with like Larson, for example. Obviously, you couldn't.
But I don't
Oh, wait,
get
there's
banned, by the way. I think
I'm
actually they. Oh, I think actually Fnatic plays like more around mid than an average team in LEC. So I think that was more last split. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Just this
I
split,
think
like
that-
I see like a jungle and support in mid the whole game. So yeah.
I don't think that's more about like the picks that, for example, in some like I feel like that will always be the case when Hylissang is like on specific champs.
I mean, yeah, that can be the case, but it's,
Like the more
I mean,
Pike and Rakan he plays, the more he's mid.
I mean,
That's at least like how I feel it.
I mean, well, that can be true, but I'm just saying. I think, I don't think, I think they play more around mid than the average team. That's all. They regardless of like what champs they're playing.
I think they play like full
I
mid
think people are
priority
not
more than like an
playing
average
like,
team does.
one way their whole life, you know. Like they obviously try now to play differently, and they are doing it, and that's kind of why they're winning. To be fair, so yeah.
But do you think they could put any?
The thing for me though is that
No, that's not what I said, or what I was trying
like
to say.
if you have like
no, I mean, if they can put any mid
I'm
to
lagging
fit their
so
style, or like to have the same result.
By the way, can I just check? Can you actually hear Veteran? By the way, Nukeduck.
I currently, if he's talking, I can't hear him.
Right, there
Can
we
you try
that's
to
what-
talk.
Yeah, I think what happened was when it reset,
okay,
you can't
sorry.
hear him. It's all right. It's just sometimes.
Can you not hear me?
Can you hear him now?
Now I can hear.
There
you
we go.
Now you can hear.
I was
Okay.
not ignoring you.
It's all right. Yeah, fair enough. I noticed after a little while.
Okay, so the thing I'll say to that, because like I fully agree with Kold. Like I think Fnatic play for mid priority, like more than most do. And I think what they've done this split, the biggest change they've done this split is that instead of just playing like super hard for bot lane, they're playing super hard for top lane. And if you're playing super hard for top lane, you have more options to make sure that the wave is safe bot lane for, say, Reckless, for example. And like the Karma pick is almost the epitome of that. Picks like that are the kind of thing where Hylissang can really just roam to his heart's content, get mid prior, and then play really hard for top side. Whereas if you're like fucking gangplank top and you've not seen the jungler for like 20 fucking minutes, obviously there are going to be multiple times where the wave is fucked and you can't fucking do anything about it. And then Reddit keeps trying to convince me to put you in D tier because that was fucking Whippo's life at one point. But the thing is though, if you put Larson in the situation where like they have a specific setup where like Hylissang can just play really hard hard for like mid prio with Broxah, and they all lean towards top side, and you're playing a champion like Zoe, like ADTF, like Lysandra, like all of these picks that they were and have been picking, or even if you're playing like Irelia and you're playing with like a constant Rakan or Pike in your lane, and you're playing a Broxah and Gragas and all this shit, like yeah, I think you can slot in a lot of mid laners into that. Maybe not the mid laners that just want to permaplay assassins. Like maybe you can't put leader into that and have Fnatic keep their system. But if you do have other mid laners like that, then do you even need the system that Fnatic has kind of created for themselves this year? Because I feel like Fnatic have created that system in response to the fact that trying to play the way they played with Caps just wasn't really working out. Like, this is closer to the way that Fnatic were playing when they initially had Caps and before they had Youngbuck, than the way Fnatic were playing when they reached like finals at Worlds, you know? It's like a regression. And it seems to be a response to like limitations that they had. And they only made one change.
I think maybe that was true, but it's not true anymore. I think they don't like. I actually don't know. I don't remember their games, but I don't think they play just to get mid prio and roam. Actually, when I play against them, the Nemesis is not roaming at all. He's only playing like for farm, only acquiring resources that in the last like month, I think. So I think they don't play like that like at all anymore. Like I could check the last games, but I don't remember who they even played.
I mean, in the many last games, at least at Rift Rivals, he was playing like GF, Corki all the time.
Yeah.
With Klepto, getting very high CS numbers and getting to like 2-3 items like ASAP and then fighting. So I think that's pretty accurate. That's what I meant with the fact that they're like trying to refine their style more now. They're much closer to like what they want to do. So I think as I recall, like watching Nemesis in Mad Lions, he was the guy that would play, like he would play like a lot of Asir and Kassadin and like these champions that eventually would like take over the game and just like carry alone. Where he now on this Fnatic now, like they're, as Erland says, like they put more resources into him so that he can play these champions that scale very well, and then eventually he can be like a strong player instead of like where he was playing like a lot of Lysandra and Spring where he had to like facilitate the team, but now the team is like facilitating more. So I think he's just like getting into the team, and it seems like they trust him to, if they give him resources, he can like carry the game. So I think that just makes them a stronger team.
I don't disagree, but I also think that like the champions that you named also fit like the model that they were doing last spring. They are more useful later on in the game, and I think that's like a product of the meta. These are also champions, by the way, that he already played.
Is Veteran gone again?
Mad Lions.
No, I'm saying now, mate. Those champions.
The champions that Kold named like also fit into the way that they played in spring, and they're still kind of playing that way now. They're just doing it bot to top instead of top to bot. And I mean, what Nukeduck's saying about how he doesn't think that they play hard for mid priority, I don't think that you've ever seen Hylissang be able to play like harder around mid than he has already, and he will just straight transition from that into helping them dive top side now. So like, I just completely disagree on that one. I also think that champions like Corki are things he was already playing on Mad Lions, so that doesn't really help the champions either. So
I mean, that's true. That was what I was trying to get.
Yeah.
He's playing like someone. He's playing the champions that it seems like he's liking to play. So
yeah.
Then obviously you will have a good performance if you also set up for success in the game.
I still think he's top 3, top 4. So I don't think he's bad.
If the better jungler really won Kold, then Broxah is the best jungler in Europe. What do you think?
Fair point. I think you hit it right on the spot, dude. Like you.
If you had to pick a jungler, do you think he's the best?
If I would rate your analysis of like the overall game and basically like the skill level between players,
sure.
I think at least like when it comes to junglers, you are hitting it like 10 out of 10 almost every time. Saying, I mean, if they won,
you know,
but that must have been the better jungler.
I mean, you were all the guys who used to say Trick was the best. So, you know, that Jankos guy was never good until he won. Now he's won. Magically, he's the best. So, I mean, you guys as the pros definitely have it sorted out. Nukeduck over here thinks literally every single player who's ever played mid is good in some sense. But at the same time, Caps is an actual god and you're all just worms in the fucking muck. So we've encapsulated all the difference between pros, analysts, and outsiders there. So what do you actually think of Broxah then?
He is good. Like I was trying to talk about it a little bit earlier, but he's changing up a little bit how he plays the game. Beforehand, he was like, or at least the past years where I played against him, he was a guy that was very focused on being strong in the game himself, like all the time. So like you would always see him being like high level compared to the other jungler, having like high gold and high resources, because he would always like be efficient with taking his camps. But now he takes like it seemed to me that when they brought in the new jungler, like the Dan guy, they kind of he put like he changed a little bit the way that they play jungle on Fnatic now.
Sure.
So I don't know if it's because of him or it's the coaching, or like because as I recall, like during this between the season, there were this discussion between the laners and the jungler that they didn't always think that the jungler was playing correctly.
Okay.
That's why they brought in the second jungler. So it seems to me that now he's playing like more. I know it's like it's a bad reference, but like this like more like dog style where you just like run around and play for your lanes. I don't know the better way to say it, but I think
Makes sense.
We need a second jungler as well then.
There you go.
The idea of it makes sense. Yeah.
All right. Bring in the aggressive jungler.
And I think from here on, without like going too much into it, I think Erland should take over, because this is exactly like so the way they're playing, or the way they've worked, push the jungler towards, is exactly like how he perceives the jungler as well. So I think he would be the perfect guy to like explain the idea of what they're doing.
He always seems to know what makes for the better jungler, doesn't he? He has a good sense for it, an intuitive sense, some would say.
No,
I just like my jungler in the enemy jungle. You know what I mean?
There we go. I don't always like junglers, but when I do, I like my enemy in the enemy jungle. There you go.
My enemy.
I like my jungler.
I do also like my enemy jungler.
That's also where you want
jungle.
one.
Yes,
Indeed.
exactly.
Exactly.
So that also works.
That does make sense. What was the original flame he had for it, though? He usually likes his jungler in the enemy jungle. But the curious kold Veteran said you guys have the best map setup of all the teams in the world. So, just saying, that sounds like you must be doing your job.
That sounds pretty good,
jungle. But it's more like...
I think that's because of the jungler, right? That has to be because of the jungler, right? That's right.
Sounds to me like it, yeah.
Right?
I will not commit to whether that's because of you, but you are one of the best.
It's got to be some part. You've got to be some part of him, I think. I think.
But I will say though is that I think that the way that Broxah jungles is like quite clearly his like, and I've said this on like every show, haven't I? Phone that quite clearly this is just him being led around by like the players on the team. Like this guy is not doing like the dots himself, and the fact that like Nukeduck thinks that like the way Broxah plays is like more how a jungler should play. It's like, yeah, I mean, like obviously the laners all think that this is how a jungler should play. I think the way that kold plays is like the way that a jungler should play, but. Yeah,
this topic is like the perfect topic that to have like a mid laner and a jungler in the discussion, because the discussion literally never ends. It's about finding compromise at some point.
Our team, it's like Jonas is the one he really likes to, you know, like do the planned early game, you know. But then I like so he's doing that, and then I'm trying to, you know, like.
He's sabotaging on purpose.
No, Veteran, how you said that.
Okay. Wait a second. I think we can't hear you a second when you said something out.
Can you hear me?
He's there we go. He was cutting out for something a second. Say what you said again.
So said was, you know, that it's really important, right? To have an early game without any holes, right?
Sure.
Can abuse our holes, right? If you have a hole.
Yeah.
So if you play against a team that has holes in the early game, abuse their holes in the early game as well. So
it's keep cutting out for some reason. What's going on with that headset? Like it's cutting out some of the words you said. We hear like half of them. So,
Are you serious? Or
yeah, no, literally.
Okay.
Oh right.
Yeah. So that's just Nuno's relationship. Like he makes sure that the early game has no holes, and then I try to like push him to.
Basically, he wants me to abuse the enemy's holes. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, when he say it like that,
I don't know. Like, I don't know exactly how to take that. Honestly, like that. Yeah. Okay.
You know, how metaphorical is that?
That's just how we like do it. You know? That's just our dynamic.
I think it's fine that his mic is cutting a little bit.
I know. Now, if that's like the way he actually describes the style of team, I know how he got banned for a year now. If that's like the sort of language that just comes straight to mind, you know. It's like, right, I need you guys to abuse the enemy's halls, either in our jungle, out of our jungle. If you can just do that, though.
How do you say it? Exploit their halls.
There you go. It's the same concept. Yeah, I get you. It's the same concept. It just sounded a bit weird.
Yeah, I get it. Hard to make it sound weird, it can sound weird.
So what do you think of that? The philosophy sounded interesting, right? Kold?
Definitely. I mean, you need. So like, apart from all the whole talk, like, you need people on. You need people on the team that push on both sides. So you find a compromise.
Yes.
And I think that's the important part. Like, you can't just have like. I think this is like a perfect analogy towards like some of the NA play style that doesn't work well.
Sure.
Is that they have too many of. They probably have like too many of people like myself that are like trying to make everything perfect in a way. Where you need, but you also need like these people that want to sabotage the whole thing, like Erland.
Yes, the wild card.
The wild cards. So. You know that's just part of the game, but yeah, it's always good, some good discussions around like
of course
how much to push it. So we have these discussions almost every day, I think. So that's just the part of the Origen life.
I mean, it's kind of, I kind of think it's true anyway. I mean, the concept is usually called like creative tension because you see it in like music bands, football teams, etc. Like you don't want everyone to have one style of play and one mentality only, but you do want people to agree upon what the style of play and mentality is going to be, even if that's people who, you know, are a little bit different, like finding a compromise that works for both people, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, so like, for example, on Origen, I think it's, if people followed some of the players from the past, like I think it's pretty obvious that both me and Xmithie are very similar in some of those things. But we also have people like Erland and also Patrick that have those like moments where they just like purely work on instinct, and you just have to trust it, you know, and see where it takes you. And but you need to be willing. You need to already like mindset wise be in a position where you are just like intuitively like following that because you trust your teammates. So it's like a cool balance when you find the balance between it.
I'll give you the analogy. Here's how it works in terms of junglers, right? So if you go to a restaurant and you're in Western Europe, obviously example would be like France. You go into a restaurant, right? If you sit down, you have to wait. And then eventually the waiter comes over. They initially only want to ask, like, do you want a drink? You know, they actually usually don't want you to make the order then. They want everything in a certain order. You know, they're going to come at a certain time, ask for this, right? You tell them. Then they come back later. They bring you the first meal. Then they come back, they check out, is everything okay? You know, they have like a whole system and you have to wait your turn, right? Basically, that's how a team jungler wants the game to be set up. You know, everyone listen, everyone wait up. I'll come when it's the right time. Problem is, Nukeduck, right, wants it like when I lived in Korea. One of my favorite things was not only does some of those Korean barbecues have a bell where you can literally, the second your brain goes like, I want a Sprite, you just press that bell, like, but you can also actually, this is something Westerners don't know, but in Korean, you're allowed to shout out this phrase, Yogyo, which just means here. And And if you shout that out, the person will instantly come right to where you are and get you whatever you want. Like the second one is that's how he wants you to play the game. Just be ready at all keep doing whatever else you do on the map, like when you're not in the mid lane. But at any second he tells you, just be ready to come right then and do whatever he says right there. If you could just do that, that would be really helpful.
And that is the point where the junglers need to be like a strong figure, because else it can get very fast very like an abusive relationship.
Sure.
You don't want that to be a thing.
No.
So like you have to find the line.
Exactly. You got to respect yourself, right?
Yeah.
You got to know when to say no.
Enough talk about junglers. I think
you can't be a pussy else you're on the start of being whole.
There we go. There we go. He's gone and said it, hasn't he? Right near the end of the episode and everything.
He's not. You guys can't hear him, right?
We can, but here's the thing.
I wish I couldn't.
This would only have been funnier if somehow it had actually been your jungler that you could never hear at some point in time. That way the metaphor would have just been so perfect at that moment, right? Wouldn't it? If at the end he was like, "Can anyone hear anything?" I can't hear anything.
Sadly, I hear everything.
Yes, exactly.
Sadly.
You haven't missed anything. Don't worry.
I've talked about junglers, like
exactly.
Like I'm not racist. I just don't like him. You know?
Just junglers, yeah, fair enough. Just as a type of person, there's something about them that's a bit suspect, isn't it? It's like, come on, if you were really good, why would you be hiding in a bush all the time? Why wouldn't you be in a lane like a real man, just killing stuff where you can see it and fighting with your own honor? You know, they're all cowards. They're all just basically like thieves and people sneaking around in the dark trying to get up to all sorts of shit. They say they have plans and paths and all that stuff, and Riot puts stuff in the game so they can get by, but we all know what they really are. You know, if it was a real game, there just would be no junglers. I'm with you on that, Nukeduck. It'd just be four people who just go to lanes and just play against each other and don't ever interact. And at the end, you just say, I know, better top lane wins or something when you lose. I think I've summed it up there. I think we've got to the bottom of it. Right, Veteran. I think that's a pretty good spot there. We didn't obviously talk about too much of LEC, but it is just upcoming anyway. Do you want to leave it there? Do you have a final topic for us?
No.
Is there anything we didn't ask these guys? I think we did a pretty good job. Yeah, leave it there. Thanks, guys. We'll probably come out tomorrow, I think.
Or not.
This episode turned into something I didn't expect.
It was sort of like an intervention.
Yeah.
I can't tell for who yet. Like the fans can decide that one, you know.
Yeah.
It was either for you, like for the reality of the modern day, or it was just to find out whether Nukeduck actually ever did find out what junglers do in the last decade that he was playing the game. And the answer to that one, again, the fans can decide. So we'll just leave on that note.
It's what they don't do.
That's the main problem I've noticed. It's never what they never get credit for what they do. It's just what they didn't do. Exactly. See, we're on the same wavelength.
I told you earlier on phone, but you get it. Like you totally get it.
We're on the same wavelength.
Yeah.
You guys should make like a Reddit thread like junglers don't get enough appreciation.
Exactly. Yeah, let's hear it for the junglers, guys. Come on. This video was kindly supported by Dean Tanglis, Butt Pounder 420, Andreas Snazore Westerlund, Wendelful, Chi Mao, JDubs, Alexander Rao, Blunt Smoking Anus Destroyer, Daniel Olivar, NateDOhDoubleG, OllieJ, Tobias Bernasconi, and a special thanks go out to Jerky's Minion and weixz. Would you like to suggest a topic or a guest for my content? Maybe you'd like to ask me a question in my monthly AMA. Do you want teasers for my upcoming content? See who the guests are. Maybe you'd like to take part in a donator discussion with me on video. Well, put your money where your mouth is and join the Scrilluminati today at link in the description box below.